Hi everybody, it's Joel Kennedy with Kennedy Violins. So today is another play-along video, and we are covering Etude from Suzuki Book 1. So every week I cover a different song. Right now we're doing the Suzuki series. I also mix in a few little songs here and there that are kind of popular, but for the most part we're sticking to the Suzuki series until we run out of songs. So I'm just going to play through this Etude, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to practice it and how to play it as best as you possibly can. That's it. Okay, so the time signature is got that big C there in the staff, so that means common time, which is 4/4, right? So quarter note gets the beat, the equivalent of 4 quarter notes in a measure, and yeah, that's about it. So it's pretty simple time signature. Now the key signature is G major, one of the easiest keys on the violin. So what does that mean? Well, we have 1 sharp, F sharp. And it means that our finger pattern will be high second finger on the G and the D string, low second finger on the A and the E string. So a reason why I talk about the second finger is that usually when you start adding sharps or flats on the violin, the second finger is the first finger that's usually affected, right? So high second finger on the G string. So that means that it's going to be touching your 3, not your 2. So high second finger, low second finger. So if your high second finger is going to be touching your third finger, if your third finger was there, on the G, on the D, and then low, touching your first finger on the A and the E. So that's pretty much it for the time signature, or key signature. Okay, so remember, in all Suzuki songs, they are always trying to improve a particular skill or give you a skill that you'll need for an upcoming piece, right? So they kind of sneak these things in there to make it a little bit more difficult, but sometimes you barely notice, but you're improving your skill the whole time. So what are they trying to improve or help you with in this song? Well, what they're trying to teach you in this song is the value of keeping your fingers down. Okay, that's number 1. The second thing is they're giving you the opportunity to practice it with open strings, which is easy, or to play those open strings with the alternate fingering, which would be 4th finger, right? Remember, 4th finger on a string is going to be open on the next one, right? So if I played 4th finger on the D, that's the same as playing open A on the violin. And that is true for a bunch of other strings. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the things that Suzuki's trying to teach you in this song. Okay, so the first thing we're trying to teach you is staccato, right? So staccato means that your notes are short, right? It means you have to stop your bow. So if I play it staccato, if I play it legato, then it's... But staccato... Okay, so how do we achieve that staccato? Okay, well, first of all, remember, you have to choose where you're going to play in the bow, and you have to choose how much bow you're going to use. You should always be in control of your bow. Nothing should happen randomly with your bow on the violin, ever, right? Everything that occurs should be because you've decided it to be so. Okay, so for this example, we're going to play it basically in the middle of the bow, okay? We could play it the lower part, the higher part, but we're going to play it in the middle, okay? And then we're going to use about this much bow per note, okay? And the trick is to make sure we always use pretty much the same amount of bow, so we're not wandering towards the lower part of the bow or wandering towards the upper part of the bow. If we did, that would mean that we're not in control, which is not good, right? So stay in the middle and use about that much bow, and stop your bow after every note. right? So while you're teaching yourself this staccato stroke, you have to do it pretty slow at first, right? Because you have to train your hand to really truly stop, right? Stop, 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 right? And you have to make sure that your sound is good and that you're using the same amount of bow for every note. So, right? After you get pretty comfortable with that, then you can speed it up if you want. Right? So the trick though is to learn how to stop your bow no matter where you're playing on the instrument, then you can speed it up. And of course, I recommend using the metronome to help you stay nice and even. Okay, so that's the first thing, is the staccato stroke. Now the next thing they're trying to teach you is keeping your fingers down. Okay, so if you look at the music on the screen, you'll see that there's these little lines. It'll say 1, like at the beginning. It says 1, and then there's a line, right? And they do that for the first 3 measures, okay? Why? Because they're telling you you should keep your first finger down. Why are they telling you that? Well, they're trying to teach you how to have an efficient left hand and to think of your left hand as being a unit of fingers and not just individual fingers, okay? So they want you to keep that first finger down when you play the 3rd finger. So this is a little bit weird at first, okay? Because your brain wants to pick up all of your fingers after you play the 1, but you have to resist that urge. So now you can pick it up. So they're trying to teach you that 3rd, that 1, 3, 1, 3. They're trying to teach you. So if you want to play double stops, 2 notes at a time in the future, you have to train your hand to keep those fingers down, right? So you know what those feel like. You know what a 6th feels like, a 4th feels like, a 3rd feels like, an octave feels like, right? So it's teaching you that. So go nice and slow and obey those little lines. Okay, so then it occurs again. Okay, so in the 3rd measure, it's a little easier, but just keep your 3rd finger or first finger down. Now pick it up. Okay, so it happens again, importantly, on the 3rd line, 2nd measure. So, right, you can keep your first finger down the whole time, starting in the 2nd measure, 3rd line. Then you can pick it up, right? So you get the idea. Just make sure you keep that first finger down when they tell you to, and that's going to help you with the frame of your hand. It's going to help you keep the shape of your hand. Because remember, as you get better on the violin, you're going to be going into different positions. 1st position, 2nd position, 3rd position, stuff like that, right? So you're teaching your hand to have that frame and move that frame around your violin. Okay, so let's talk about the 4th finger a little bit. Okay, so if you look at the music, you'll see that there is a 4th finger marked in the 2nd measure of the 3rd line, right? So there's on that E natural, right? So instead of doing, they want you to do, right? Now, I know that a lot of times we don't want to use our 4th finger because my 4th finger is weak and I can't reach the note. Okay, but the reason why your 4th finger is weak and it doesn't want to reach the note is because you don't use it enough, right? So you've got to use that 4th finger when you can, or at least when it's realistically possible, because you want to have a strong 4th finger. So anyways, play that 4th finger and keep that 2nd finger down. Right? So try to keep that 2nd finger down when you play that 4th finger. Why? Because you're teaching yourself that stretch. Okay, so then going on, the next measure, they have on the 3rd measure of the 3rd line, they have an open on that E. Then open A, right? So I advise you to practice that with an open E at first. But then after you get pretty good at it, then play it with the 4th finger on the A. So, then, And remember, when you play that fourth finger, keep your first finger down, right? I know I'm a broken record, but you're trying to teach yourself how to properly play the violin so you can play fast in the future, right? Playing fast on the violin is difficult. Well, yeah, but it's a lot easier if you train your hand how to work properly. So, stretch for that 4. Stretch for that 4. Keep that first finger down. Okay, so those are just a couple spots where you can really help yourself, your future self, by adhering to a few little practice rules that'll enable you to be a lot better in the future. Not just play this song, but it'll help you play future songs a lot better. Okay, so I have a few suggestions here for how you can practice this piece and get even more out of it. Okay, so they want you to play staccato, right? So normally you'd want to play this in the middle of the bow. That's probably the most realistic, easiest place to play it. But if you want to challenge yourself, try staccato in the 3 different parts of the bow. So you practice it in the middle, then try it at the frog. That's going to teach you how to move your hand. Remember, not this. You want a bent pinky. So at the frog. Then at the tip. Right? So if you can teach yourself how to do it in the middle, at the frog, at the tip, right? That's going to teach you some bow control. Okay, so another thing that you can do is play the whole thing legato, right? So you're working on your legato technique. So in the middle of the bow, so you're not stopping the bow. Then you could switch back to staccato, right? So this is just, there's little opportunities here where you can, really help your future self and use this really simple piece to be a way better, violinist, to really build your skill set, so you're gonna be a lot better player after playing this song than you are with somebody else who just scratches out the notes and like, oh, I did it, So anyways, that's my suggestion for you. So now let's find out what the piece is for next week by throwing a dartboard at the dartboard of destiny. Okay, I have my weapon in hand, and hopefully there's no nomadic creatures who may be caught in the crossfire. Here we go. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna do Book 2, Theme from Witch's Dance. That's a pretty cool little tune, actually. So, Book 2, Suzuki Book 2, Theme from Witch's Dance. So guys, hope this video was helpful. And don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and subscribe. Remember, I do tutorial videos as well, not just on songs, but also technical stuff. So, and if you have any questions, of course, put them in the comments below. I answer pretty much all the questions. I'm able to get to pretty much all of them so far these days. So with that, I hope you guys have a happy time practicing, and have a great day.